Welcome to the Coachzing Show, helping you work less, earn more, and reach more people through creative content marketing. Join the Coach Zingers community, where the world's best coaches, therapists, authors, and speakers come together to discover the latest trends, forge powerful joint ventures, and grow their business together. Go to coachzing.com/community to join. And now, here's your host, Doug Foresta.
Hello, and welcome back to the Coachzing Show. This is your host, Doug Foresta. As always, this is a show we help you, coaches, therapists, speakers, and authors to work less, earn more, and help more people through creative content marketing. With me today is Rick Martinez. It's an absolute pleasure to speak with him. I had the pleasure of talking to him on my other show, Creating Change, but today we're going to be talking about content marketing and getting your message out in the world. So stay tuned. I know you get a lot out of this. I'll say a little bit about Rick, bring him right on. Rick Martinez is an award-winning entrepreneur, nurse, veteran, speaker, and founder of Project BINK. He brings a wealth of experience and tremendous passion for impacting lives. His early business success prompted San Antonio Business Journal to name him one of the city's 40 under 40. His first company, a medical services contracting company, would go on to become one of the U.S. Small Business Administration's top 100 companies. He was awarded the prestigious Jefferson Award for public service, further embodying his spirit of giving back and serving others. And I encourage you to visit therickmartinez.com. That's therickmartinez.com, and we'll put that on the show page as well. Rick Martinez, welcome to the Coachzing Show.
Doug, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So I'll start with the usual departure point on this show, which is about what is your favorite way to get the word out about what you do to people that most need to hear it? Ways?
Yeah, so my favorite way, it's through writing. I mean, I personally like to write, and I know writing is a big way to get all kinds of content out there, but I do most of my own writing, and we distribute it through a few channels, usually through our blog or publications.
And so can you say a little bit, too, about, I think one of the things that people always struggle with is, well, I wrote a blog, but how do I get people to read my blog?
That's so let me preface it by it's one of those passion-driven things, and I did have this opportunity to write a book, but that's also a burning question I have. And here's what we do: so we put up blogs. I write a couple blogs, but for instance, I'm the Rick Martinez. The blog is relevant more towards an entrepreneur or even a content marketer, somebody who's in the marketing space. And so when we put our blog up, we have certain links on it, just simple buttons. Like there's on the blog post itself, there's likes and share links, which connect directly to folks' Facebook pages. And there's kind of this internal viralocity, and I don't even know if that's a word, where we can build it ourselves. And then honestly, we have the people who are in our innermost, tightest circles share it, because then their people see it, and then their people see it. And I think the essence of it, Doug, is it goes without saying that it's got to be content that has value, that people actually want to read, and they're like, So that's one of the things we do.
Now, I know that you had mentioned just before we started the episode, too. I'm really curious. I know that our listeners would be interested in this. I know that you said you just did a product launch, and I know that's something that would be interesting to our listeners. I'm curious if you could share any insights about what kind of content you shared for going up to that launch, and what really worked for you with that.
Yeah, so we did do a product launch, and it was a massive undertaking, and I learned a ton. Our entire team learned a ton. So we have members of our team who have experience in this, but for me personally, this is the first time. What worked best for me and our business is video. So I happen to enjoy being the face, being the person I'm the front guy, and I like to be on video. It's just it's a way for me to connect easier and quicker with our audience. So specifically for our product launches, we did have email sequences, and we did send out our messages to our list of folks, but it was all designed to link back to our videos, which then had embedded links in our pages, our landing pages.
And what was the product? I'm actually really curious. What was the?
So the person that I enjoy serving, the one who really lights my fire. Well, real quick, for the past few years, I've been traveling around the world, really doing business training seminars one day, and the essence of what happened was I just wanted to stay home with my wife and enjoy time with my kids and my family. Yeah. So we bundled what I had been doing into a 6-week business training course. It's foundational stuff, but it's stuff that entrepreneurs, I believe, should be taught. And it was something that I felt was missing in my live presentation. So now we do it online, and there's lifetime access. And the reason why is I want to start a riot in the entrepreneurial world. There's no reason why it should be so hard. So we dispel a lot of the myths around building a business that serves us. And that's what it's about, 6-week course.
That's awesome. I'm curious also for you, since you do work with, so many entrepreneurs and that is a passion of yours, what do you see as the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make when they start getting out there and putting, sharing content and, putting that, putting the proverbial shingle out there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Doug. And I base this on having spoken to, been around hundreds, if not, well, actually thousands of entrepreneurs from all sizes of companies. Generally, my sweet spot is under $1 million in gross revenues, dollars or euros. But really, even sweeter sweet spot is the one who's maybe low 6 figures in top line revenues. But the thing that I see the most, and the thing that's been shared is there isn't a deeper set reason why, or this fire as to why they started. In other words, entrepreneurism is great because we can improve our life, we can make more money. But that's not the reason why we should be doing it. It's because it's easy. We should be doing it because something's driving us, something internal. So the number one thing I found, it's that it hasn't been shown or taught or really been instructed to, for this early stage or nascent entrepreneur, get in touch with the thing that fuels you first, and then figure out what you want to do with that.
I love that. And you can tell the difference, can't you? I mean, that I would imagine comes out in your content as well, that if you're missing that, I often think about that, like, why are you doing this, right? We want to know. It's not just enough to say, well, this is what I do, but people kind of want to know, well, why do you do that, right? Like, well, I help people with video. Well, why do you help people with video? Why did you choose that?
So specifically me, I deliver my content via video.
Right.
And so if you're asking the reasons why I do it, it's because there's just such a discrepancy. Well, here's why. Here's a story.
Sure.
I was speaking at a conference in this past year, and the average person, the entrepreneur in the audience, there were several hundred, they were that young, hungry, and I say young in their business life, young, hungry, hard charging. They wanted to make the difference in the world. And the thing is that this was a fantastic conference, but I could tell it was a stretch for a lot of them. They were doubling up in hotel rooms. Some of them didn't stay at the host hotel. They had Airbnbs. Nothing wrong with that, but it was obvious, that they didn't have a whole lot of disposable, free-flowing cash yet. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely.
So one of the things that happened, one of the speakers, and it doesn't matter who, and it's not bad, but they had an upsell, a great upsell, and it was for this, the value of what they were selling was about $16,000 worth of mastermind coaching, and I'm a believer in that. Don't get me wrong, but it was just not the right group, and it was this group. They were likely. Here's what happened. Is it fired me up? I thought that's wrong. It's wrong because this group is gonna mortgage a house. They're going to maybe skip some meals so that they can get into what I thought was access to something that they shouldn't have to pay that much at this point. And I thought, I'm going to change that. We're going to start a riot, Doug, in the entrepreneurial world, and I'm going to give away stuff for free. And or as much as I can, and then build this course, the value of which is $1 a day. And it's $1 a day when it's all boils down. But I thought this is what's going to really revolutionize the world. And some people are angry because they're like, Rick, you built some really big companies and you've done this stuff. And why are you doing that? I'm like, because it's time that the treps or the meek inherit the earth. I say treps because entrepreneurs. It's time for entrepreneurs to inherit the earth. And that's my driver.
I love it. And I was not, just to be clear, I wasn't questioning your why. I was just echoing the idea that when we start a business, that it's important that people want to know, that they do want to know our why. I'm wondering do you have any advice or tips or insight about, let's say I am starting my business and I'm struggling to figure out what my why is. Do you have any advice about how I could go about getting started with doing that, like really connecting what I do to why I do it?
That's a fantastic question. And here's what I do. There's probably every single person I imagine, Doug, that you and I would collectively talk to would have their own thing that they do.
Sure.
And I honestly dedicate a certain amount of time every week, if not each day, to do nothing. And I mean that. I mean, do absolutely nothing except sit with the magazine in my backyard, and I just listen. I literally, and I'm not trying to be woo-woo, I'm just saying sometimes when we stop and we smell the proverbial roses, then things just enter. When we allow that space or create it, sometimes some really magical things fill it. And they're things that we would not otherwise have experienced if we didn't give it that time or honor that moment. And so I just stop. I stop and I make it a part of my schedule to do nothing. And I just want to see what happens. And, I would bet dollars to donuts people might find some sort of fire or fuel that just fills that void.
It is interesting because it's so easy as an entrepreneur you could always be doing something, right? There's always something that you could be doing next. And to stop and really take a step back, I think that is really important. And, I'd encourage listeners right now to think about, do you schedule in that time in your day? Do you schedule in some time in your day to stop? I completely agree with you. I do the same thing. And I used to just go, but I think we miss something, right? If we're just constantly going, we definitely miss things.
Yeah, Doug, there's as you're saying that, I'm really like reflecting back on things that I've missed, and I'm not going to beat myself up over it. And the other side of that is, see, you're right, we miss stuff. But on the other hand, is we break down too. Imagine that F1 car, that NASCAR going around the track. You know what they do? And I'm not a NASCAR fan per se, but everybody can relate. Is every so often they hit the pit stop, they rest, they get new tires, they change drivers, and as entrepreneurs, and I know you feel it as well, it's for some reason, it's been like this badge of honor to not stop. And I say, phooey, enough with that. We've got to take care of our very own NASCAR if we want to win the race.
One of the interesting things as you say that, I actually want to bring that back to content creation, because I've actually in the past burned myself out even with creating content, where I wanted to get all this content created and I was going like that NASCAR, the NASCAR that doesn't stop in the pit. How much content, I'm curious about, how much content do you create, or how often, how much time do you dedicate in your business to creating content? I'm just curious about your thoughts about that.
That's another great question. And it's, I have that answer because this is something that I pay attention to. So I mentioned to you that our content is written. I love to write. We do video as a means to distribute it, but I usually write 2 blogs for 2 different websites. I run one a week. That's it. It's on my calendar, Sunday and Monday, to write my 2 blogs, and then I'll just have them plugged in to go live at a certain time. And then I also do, probably about 1 or 2 podcasts just like this interview, because this is content that we then create. We can create some like cool nuggets. Hey, I was talking to Doug on this show, and here's what happened. And
that's right.
And so we block off about an hour to 2 hours a week on that, and then the final thing we do is we actually create article content, and our team publishes. Well, we publish an Entrepreneur magazine, and we're going to be an upstart journal. And anyway, so we block off time for me to write the blogs, to interview for publications and journals, and then also to do this. Because this, Doug, this is what we're doing right now is incredible content. It's for us to share and really get our messages out there.
Yeah, what I love about podcasts like this is that it is true, that, I can't tell you how many times someone will finish an episode and say, and we both say, wow, that was really great. What I said something that I wouldn't have necessarily sat in front of my computer and said by myself, because it's in the act of conversation that something new comes up, and it's like the quickest product you could ever create, right? It's like, yeah.
No doubt, and you're exactly right. I mean, we could each individually have not had this call and probably have created something fantastic, but through the power of sharing and connecting and just kind of stacking ideas, oh my gosh, just magical things can emerge from that.
And also going back to what you said about how you ask your tribe to share the blog, I think the other piece that's great is, like you do another, you do podcasts with me. I'm going to share it with my community. You do podcasts with somebody else. They're going to share it with their community. Like, I'm curious if you've seen results from that in terms of people, sharing your name and your work with another, with a community that you might not have been in front of before.
There's no doubt. And so here's an example is a really good friend of mine owns a coaching business, a triathlon coach. She actually was my coached me through an Ironman in 2014.
Wow.
And I don't know that me talking about marketing or entrepreneurial tactics is going to necessarily resonate with her audience, and vice versa, right?
Right.
But there's something really special when we strip away the what. We get down to, here's the 5 things I learned from my Ironman training about being a better business owner. And suddenly there's a dual connection. One, suddenly the Ironman athlete understands, wow, so there's a different impact through using, her name is Coach Jen. And at the same time as, she could write an article about, and we have shared articles back and forth in each other's blogs in the past, is, the reasons why you need the businessman's reason for utilizing a coach. And suddenly, anyway, so there is some sharing. It doesn't have to be necessarily, not that my crowd or tribe needs to know about triathlon, but maybe the mindset behind it. And, with her, it's not necessarily that they need to know about business, but how this impacts other areas of their life, because I would venture to say the people she coaches, they also have a job, and some of them might be business owners. So sharing is incredible. It's an incredibly powerful tool.
That's a very interesting point. I never thought of it that way before, that when you create a shared, let's say an interview-based content, you both come away with something that you can then further elaborate on and further share, but it may be very different for your specific audiences, and yet there is value, right? There's this value for both of you. I've never thought of that before. That's a very good point.
Doug, I appreciate that. And I think what it boils down to, it's, we all do different things. I mean, what you do is different from what I do, but the core of being human, it's, in my opinion, it settles on 5 emotions. It's being mad, glad, sad, afraid, or ashamed. And if what we're putting out into the world can touch one of those emotional triggers, then we reach a broader audience, and people resonate with our message more. And they may not buy from us, but it's like, dang, that was like awesome reading about triathlon. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. You're right. I mean, it's that Emerson has that quote in Selfreliance, to believe that what's true for yourself is true for others, that's genius. And more I'm coming to believe that. People, we say, oh, I don't want to share that because it's not directly related to entrepreneurship, or it's not directly related to this. And yet somehow you find that it is.
For sure. That's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly it.
I want to make sure, I know I gave that link at the top of the show, but can you tell people a little bit more about how you help people and, again, how they can find you?
Sure. So the project we were just talking about, the new launch, it's my website is therickmartinez.com. And all it is, Doug, simply is, just so your viewers know, it's not even really a website. It's just a landing page that looks like a website. So we did it wicked easy. And they can learn more, and they can learn more on how to maximize their time. In other words, work less and make more. And when I say make, it's not necessarily dollars, but really a richer life. And it's therickmartinez.com is the place where I interact.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I just wanted to also say that you got in the New England slang in there with wicked easy.
Yeah, my wife lived for a while up in Boston, and so she got me hooked on that word, and now I say it.
It's so funny because I'm like, what's a guy from Texas saying wicked?
Doug, get this. I actually was born and raised in LA. I'm from California, the other coast.
Okay, got it. All right. Too funny. Rick Martinez, thank you so much. Great stuff. Thank you for sharing your words of wisdom with us. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Doug, I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I want to remind you that if you've not listened to prior episodes, go ahead and click the subscribe button in iTunes, and you'll get, we have almost 380 episodes at this point, helping you to work less, earn more, and help more people through creative content marketing. Till next time, this is Doug Foresta at The Coachzing Show.
Thank you for listening to The Coachzing Show. Subscribe to us via iTunes, and please leave us a review. It helps us grow our awesome tribe. This show is brought to you by Coachzing.com's Speak to Publish book system. If your book is stuck in your head, we can help you get it out in just a dozen hours of your time. Go to Coachzing.com for more information. Have you joined the Coach Zingers community yet? You'll get exclusive access to private mastermind calls where you can get instant marketing help from industry experts. Plus, we'll help you forge deals and partnerships with other like-minded professionals. Go to Coachzing.com/community to join now.